Okay, let's do a revised edition of the 10 moves that, the 10 things Apple's done to change the computer industry forever. I got this information from an article on the web, and I wanted to, instead of just reading the article, I want to just kind of talk through it instead of, so people can't yell, hey, you're copying it word for word, so they can't get on me. People can't scream at me for plagiarism or whatever. So I'm going to revise it. We'll talk about the same 10 things. We'll just, instead of using the article, I'll just talk. How's that? So, like I said in the last time, Apple is one of the smallest computer developers in the industry, yet they are the leader in the industry. Now, the PC fanboys don't think so, but for the most part, people really like Apple stuff. Apple's always bleeding edge, always pushing technology, and always dropping older technology in favor of new technology, and this is controversial in a lot of things. But it is really amazing if you count back and look at all the big moves Apple's made in the past 25 years to keep the Apple computers at the forefront or the front of the industry. You see, like I said, even as small as they are, they're the ones pushing the industry, and it says a lot when the smallest guy is pushing the biggest guy. I mean, that tells you a whole lot. So let's get started. The first one, what do we remember from our last video? The GUI. Everybody says, well, Xerox had the GUI first, and yada, yada, yada. But, Xerox didn't do anything with it. They didn't have the foresight to do anything with it. And then Apple came into the picture, and Jobs knew exactly where to take it and how to do it, and they done it right. So yeah, Xerox came out with the idea, but it took Apple to come in and fix it and make it right. So the GUI made the GUI available to the public. I'm not saying invented the GUI, I'm saying they made it available to the public. If it wasn't for them, it would have been a totally different animal if somebody else would have done it. Number 2, the mouse. And people want to say the same thing about the mouse too. Oh, Xerox done it, Park done it, but you know what? Like the video said, my other video said, Park didn't make it a commercial success. Apple's is the ones who brung it to me and you. Now, a lot of people disagree on this one. Number 3, USB is a standard. Now, the first computer to completely drop all the serial ports, the VGA ports, and all that, and go completely to USB was the iMac back in '98. They was the first to adopt it. And after they adopted it, like always, everybody else followed suit. Hell, today, even some PCs still have VGA and serial ports on the back. So by replacing all the serial ports that we used in the past, the original iMac, like I said, in '98, it was the first computer to exclude all that stuff and make USB a standard. And after that, USB just took off because the iMac was such a success, the first iMac. Number 4, touchpads go portable. Now, everybody on laptops before Apple came into the picture was using those big, bulky, round trackballs on their laptops. Apple came into play, and they give us a touchpad. Not only was they the first to put USB as a standard, but they give us the touchpad as we know it today. Before Apple, it was just a big, clunky trackball. Number 5, the floppies. Back in the day, 3.5-inch floppies were totally, they were used for everything. And to talk about having a computer without one was like talking about having a computer today without a DVD player in it. It just wasn't heard of. And then when Apple offered a computer without a 3.5-inch floppy in favor of CDs, it was kind of controversial at the time, But Apple had the foresight enough to know that this is where the industry was headed, and they was right. It was headed that way. Number 6, Gigabit Ethernet. Still today, some PC manufacturers don't use the Gigabit Ethernet. But back in 2000, I think it was, the PowerMac G4, they became the first to offer Gigabit Ethernet as a standard feature on their computers. And I mean standard, I mean across the line. Like I say, you still get some PCs without it. So, thanks to Apple, they made Gigabit Ethernet, or I guess 9 years later, after they installed Gigabit Ethernet. It's kind of a thing now. But you got to think, 9 years ago, Apple had the foresight enough to do it. The next one, FireWire. Apple invented FireWire. Everybody knows it. FireWire has been such a big contribution to the tech industry that it's just not even conceivable. From video editing to compressing to video camcorders and stuff. If it wasn't for FireWire, wow, we would be behind about 10 years right now. FireWire has got to be one of Apple's biggest and best inventions. It's wonderful, and it has done nothing but open doors to video editors and gamers and everybody alike. Okay? Next one, wireless, baby. That's right, the iBook G3, 1999, brought Wi-Fi to the world, people. Now it's kind of crazy to look back and think, wow, back in 99? Wow, that's 10 years ago. That's right, 10 years ago. Apple, again, had the foresight enough to know this is where the industry is heading. So guess what? They do it first. You know? They invented the trackpads, made USB a standard. You know, their Apple's laptops were also rivaled. You know, people loved them. And they were the first to be integrated with wireless networking capabilities, period. CRT kicked to the curb. Apple was the first facility to totally get rid of CRTs. They had the foresight to know that CRTs is not the way of the future, and once again, they dropped it before everybody else did. Which tells me they have about a 3 or 4 year foresight on the industry that everybody else don't have. CRTs are still used today. Like I said in the other video, my wife still has CRTs at her work. And none of them are Macs. And the last one, the DisplayPort. DisplayPort's a big deal. You know, Dell, Lenovo, Nvidia, all them guys have already showed interest in wanting to display, in using the DisplayPort. But like always, Apple has adopted it first. You know, the VGAs and the DVIs, it's all gone, even though you can use adapters. They're pushing forward. That's what they always do. They push forward. And again, in this category, they're pushing forward. So let's go over them real quick. DisplayPort adopted first. CRT. See you later, CRTs. Really fast Gigabit Ethernet. Wireless networking. FireWire. Drop the floppy first. Touchpads on a laptop. USB is a standard. The mouse. And the GUI. So those are the 10 things that I want to talk about. The last video, I just kind of read the guy's article, and people were hollering foul. So, since people can't copyright a list of 10 things, and I enjoyed them so much that I wanted to share them with you. So, those are 10 things that Apple's done, and we can make many, many more if you like. Thanks for watching, guys.